So what does the model think? What does the model think? So the model has a conference strength tier where it takes the average power rating of every single conference. And I'm going to read you the results. At number 4, the ACC, 5.7 above average, points above average. Number 3, the Big 12, an average of 5.8. So that Big 12 ACC neck and neck. Number 2, just 1.9 points above the Big 12 is the Big 10, 7.7. And number 1, 4.5 points above the Big 10, complete number 1 team is the SEC. So the model actually thinks, because the narrative right now is the SEC, Big 10, 1A, 1B gap, Big 12 ACC, huge gap, group of 5. But right now, based on the power ratings itself, it's actually the SEC, big gap, Big 10, little gap, Big 12, ACC. The Big 10 is actually closer from a power rating standpoint to the quality of play from the Big 12 to the Big 12 and the ACC than it is the SEC, right? So obviously, based on the conference strength, that's where the model's leaning. How about recruiting? That's where this all starts, folks. And my model can do this, which is pretty cool, where it takes the average recruiting rating of every single first and second string player of every single team and then averages it out. And one thing that my model has is the lowest 4-star. Like if you're a low 4-star, you get a 4.0. And if you're a high 4-star, you get a 4.9. So it averages all of that out. Here is the results. At number 4, the Big 12, an average of 3.62 stars. At number 3, the ACC, an average of 3.81 stars. At number 2, just zero point 0.01 points above the ACC is the Big 10 at 3.82. At number 1, with a 4.2 average, eclipsing the blue chip ratio by just the mean of the conference itself, is the SEC. So they are hammering the Big 10 in recruiting, they're hammering the Big 10 in viewership, and the model seems to think they're hammering the Big 10 in terms of on-field performance right now. And how about this? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take every single team, SEC Team 1 against Big 10 Team 1, all the way down to SEC Team 16 against Big 10. The bottom 2 teams of the Big 10 average out because there's 18 teams in the Big 10. So we're going to keep the percentages right there. Georgia and Ohio State. Ohio State's actually a 0.2 point favorite. So the nod goes to the Big 10. Bama, -8 versus Oregon. Texas, -7 against Penn State. Ole Miss, -7 against Indiana. Tennessee, -6 against Washington. Missouri, -1.5 against USC. LSU, -3 against Iowa. We're at number 8 now. Auburn, -5 against Rutgers. Kentucky, -4 against Michigan. Texas A&M, -3 against Illinois. Arkansas, -2 against Maryland. Florida, -2 against Minnesota. Nebraska, -3 against South Carolina. And Michigan State, -3 against Oklahoma. Vanderbilt, -4 against the average sum of Purdue and Wisconsin. And Mississippi State, -2 against the average sum of UCLA and Northwestern. The SEC wins 13-3. Folks, this discussion is not even a discussion. It's not even close. You can talk about product. You can talk about the business model. You can talk about the results. You can talk about recruiting. You name it. This isn't a discussion. And just because the Big Ten has the national champion in their conference, I've heard this point repeatedly, just because the Big Ten has the national champion in their conference doesn't make them the better conference. The Mountain West might have the best team out of the Mountain West and the Big 12. Does that make the Mountain West a better conference than the Big 12? No, it does not. And yeah, shout out Boise State because they're really good. But anyway, you get the point. This is not a discussion. And it goes back to beyond Ohio State versus the top. It's the mid-tier teams. It's the depth of the top. Penn State needs to step it up. Oregon needs to step it up. USC needs to step it up. And these teams might. Michigan needs to step it up. And also the mid-tier. Maryland's, the Minnesotas, the Wisconsins. Wisconsin's year 2 under Luke Fickell, and even with Tyler Van Dyke, they look the exact same as last year. Product, performance, recruiting, this is not a contest. The SEC takes the cake by a long shot.